To my way of thinking, the job that Nathan is doing is because of the man he's become. If he wasn't the person he has grown into, he couldn't do the job that he's doing. He's becoming his father. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's what it is. He's focused on what's important, and he's not going to deviate from that. Somewhere along the line he decided this is where my life is going to take me, and I will be the best that I can possibly be, and I will make everybody else eat crow because I'm going to do this. And he did.
This could very well be a goal. He's a champion, this kid. Buckley has one to beat. It was Roubre. He did it easy. He's a class act, and he banged it through.
From 53 metres, Nathan Buckley lets go, and he has hit the beauty.
Good work from Burns, slides in Buckley, a chance now, round in the corner. Oh, it's pretty good. Great goal. It's a great goal.
Nathan Buckley has called his team in as tight as possible and laid the law down.
Nathan was born at Henley and Grange Community Hospital in Adelaide. What was I, 26? Still a kid. I stayed home for 12 months, I think, and then went back to work, part-time. Yeah, he had a pretty good childhood, actually. They never wanted for much. He was a sunshine child. He was always happy. He was just a contented, happy little baby. I had difficulty calling him Nathan because it just seemed the name was too long for him. So I called him Boy for a long time. And he was my boy. He was pretty special. We just enjoyed each other's company and we enjoyed life, and Ray was off working and I was at home being mum, and we were having fun.
I was called up for national service in the third intake, third draft. So I went in January 1966 and I was out in February 68. We did our basic training in Puckapunyal and then went up and did our core training at North Head. The way they train you is that you were a civilian and then you were nothing. You're just a recruit, and they break you down to a degree, and then they build you up as a soldier. And you get basically thrust off into a situation. You sort of go in as a kid and you come out with a different feeling. You've been part of a group. It's not totally unlike being part of a football club.
We started trolling in 1975, 76. Ray had done a couple of stints in the Northern Territory, in Darwin actually, and he really enjoyed his time in Darwin. He played footy while he was up there and he made lots of mates. And he wanted to go and live there. Being a nurse, I could get a job anywhere, so off we went.
I think the real reasons behind us moving a lot as Nathan was growing up, it came out of having been off to Vietnam and experienced a little bit of war in that regard. I still had the feeling that cities weren't the safest places to be. And Darwin seemed to me small enough or far enough away that if the worst were to happen, that it was a place where you could survive and perhaps even thrive.
Darwin was such a multicultural place. I just think it was a perfect place to grow up, to understand that there was plenty going on in the world. And for a place that's up in the top end of Australia, seemingly in the middle of nowhere, that's a big call. But it was a hodgepodge of people, and yeah, that was a great thing to grow up in. I think I just learnt, along with Mum's values, just learnt to respect people for who they were and their actions rather than the colour of their skin or where they'd come from. And that was a great opportunity as a kid, and I really enjoyed my time there.
Nathan's experience at school, I think, was fairly difficult. At the time, I didn't realise just some of the difficulties that he would have been coping with. Having to break into new groups and new classes as we moved around the countryside was very difficult.
I went to 13 schools as a kid, so we travelled around a bit. There was never a dull moment.
The best way he knew how to handle that was to become the class clown. He was good at his schoolwork. You know, he was bright enough. He didn't have to try too hard. He got done what he needed to get done, and then he'd set about amusing the rest of the class and getting a laugh and feeling comfortable because people were laughing, and he felt good about that. He must have been an absolute nightmare to teach. One of my tools to discipline the children was the wooden spoon. There was 3 ways to use the wooden spoon. You could wave it around and look really threatening. You could bang it on the kitchen table or bang it on a bench and it made a sound and it would stop everybody. But the 3rd way was to be able to extend my reach another 20 inches. And quite often it didn't reach because the little bottom that it was supposed to hit was running down the hallway anyway. Nathan had several wooden spoons broken on his bottom. So one Mother's Day, he comes home and he gives me this little package, and I undo it, and there's a wooden spoon, and it's got a face painted on it, and it's got a bow around its neck. And he says, "Here, I bet you don't break this one." And I was looking for it last night. It's somewhere, I know it, I've got it. But no, I didn't break that one. Nathan enjoyed his sport. He played golf, tennis, football. He ran, he was good at earths. He was always second to Brendan Tenko, who tried out for the Olympics at one stage. He wanted to play football because it was a group thing. It was a fitting in. Football was a fitting in avenue. And he always thought he'd be good because he loved his football and his father played football, so he was going to be a good footballer. But then Ray started to help him, and that was a difficult time because in helping him, Nathan went through some very difficult times where Ray would lecture him and berate him for not doing stuff. And I think at one stage Nathan had had enough and he refused to play football. He went and played tennis.
It's also documented in his book that Nathan went to tennis and played a bit of golf, and probably went where the pressure wasn't. But I always strove to put him on the path where he would come back to football, which was one of the reasons that we sent him down here for boarding school when the opportunity arose. That and the education side of it.
Ray would bring Nathan home from football and they'd sit in the car under the house. And there was a window in the hallway, and I would stand in the hallway and I would listen at the window. And my heart would break because I think, oh, leave him alone. You know, it was tough. Ray was doing the best that he knew how to do. I mean, you can't blame anybody for that. But he's a hard man. Nathan's all the better for it. Nathan's all the better for it. But it was tough to listen to at the time.
There was a bit of tough love in what Dad provided, and you've got to. He was prepared to stay the course. He had a real passion and a care for me, and a belief in how it needed to be done. So he was, and that's just parenting in general, not just the footy. But Dad was fantastic, and look, I owe a fair deal to both Mum and Dad for what they've been able to provide.
My father gave me lots of feedback, and the thing that I always remembered was that he would make excuses for me, which were never going to really help me. So I more or less vowed and declared that in bringing up Nathan, that I wouldn't use that approach, that I would always give him honest feedback and hopefully some feedback which would help improve him rather than make him feel better. So there'd be occasions where I'd give him some feedback that was pretty hard to take, and I'm sure that was really hard for him. But I tried to keep it balanced, but I also tried to keep it consistent. So if he went through a fairly rough patch, as players can do, there's not a lot of positive feedback you can necessarily give them if they're not carrying out the things that they should be trying to do. So I'd keep reinforcing what I'd learned, what I'd been taught, and my aim was to give him his best chance to be successful.